Hello, everybody, and welcome again back to Procrastinator's Pit Stop. We are sitting with another amazing guest for you today. We are sitting with Andy Roberts. Andy is a creative entrepreneur and award-winning voiceover artist who founded Kraken Media, a video production studio boasting over 600 five-star Fiverr reviews. After scaling his own solo freelancing operation into a trusted partner for global brands, and now teaches creative freelancers how to grow their income, stand out online, and build businesses that work for them. Andy, welcome to the show.
Hi, Chris. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Oh, well, thanks for being here. We have some interesting ground to cover today. But before we do like to have an icebreaker on the show. And the question for you today is, which cartoon character do you resonate with the most and why?
Yeah, you warned me about this one, and I should have prepared for it, and then I forgot. And now I'm staring into my tea, hoping that by saying this, I stall enough time for my brain to think of a valid answer. Wile E. Coyote. Wildcard answer.
No, I like it. He's fixated on his goal, but he's just got poor choices in his suppliers. Is that it? Acme
Yeah.
Corporation.
Dogged determination, constantly innovating. Yeah, no, I actually relate to Wile E. Coyote a lot. Yeah, I had to fail a lot before I managed to figure out how to not fail. That's generally the consensus, isn't it? Success isn't doing it the right way. Success is knowing all the ways that don't work. And yeah, that reminds me of a lot of what I've been through in my story, just trying many different things and just having that dogged determination to be like, nah, the 10th time.
I like that. I like that.
I always
So,
get asked people, people, when I first started doing this, a lot of people said, stuff like, oh, 9 out of 10 businesses fail. Just play it safe, get a job, do the normal thing. Why risk it? Why put in the effort? Like, there's a 90% failure rate. And it's like, it's just crabs in the bucket mentality. Why you got to keep people down like that? And of course, me in my weird, like, stubborn fashion was like, okay, cool. 9 out of 10 businesses fail. That's an accurate stat. Perfect. Okay, cool. I'll just start 10 businesses. One of them's guaranteed to succeed. And the interesting thing about that fact is when you look at the flip side, second businesses, it's the inverse. 9 out of 10 second businesses succeed. Oh, I'm still here. Sorry, camera does that.
I like that. The 10-second businesses.
So people starting their second businesses after a successful one, almost completely inverse stats. They almost always work because they know all of the ways that don't work.
I like that. I like that. So, just sliding easily into it right now. How do you define procrastination, Andy? And what does it mean to you personally?
Procrastination, just when I'm just going to take a 2-minute break and then 45 minutes later, you're still on TikTok going, how the hell did this happen? There's also procrastination on a bigger sense as well, where you're like, I'm going to do this thing. And then you just sort of like get stuck in analysis paralysis. The stars aren't quite aligned. I need to wait for, the perfect opportunity. I need to wait for this other thing, or maybe the weather won't be good that day, and so you never actually get started.
And we know that there's no 100% surefire thing that's going to work for everybody, but what's been your secret sauce to getting over procrastination?
Don't think about it, just go do. Don't even consider it. It's like just on the impulse, as soon as it comes into your head, just go and do it. This is a prime example. I was thinking the other day, I'll go on some podcasts. That would be a great idea. And instead of thinking about it, researching it too much, or thinking, maybe when I have time, because as soon as you're a business owner, the when I have time doesn't exist. It's just you're always fully booked. You're always busy. Sorry, my supervisor's just showing up. Hello, come on. You coming up or what? No, she's not. Yeah, it's just a case of prioritizing. And if you want anything to actually happen, you just need to get the ball rolling. And so I was just like, how do I get onto a podcast? Let's do this. And I think it was last night that I messaged you. just go do it.
I like that. Just go do it.
Just go do it.
Without any abandon of, any thought to reckless abandon, throw caution to the wind, fly by the seat of your pants sort of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, you and I would have gotten along real well in high school, I think. I did all my school projects that way.
One of my mottos is don't solve problems you don't have yet.
I like that. Don't solve problems you don't have yet. That's very reminiscent. It reminds me a lot of Eckhart Tolle's Power of Now.
Yeah. I think I read that book a while ago.
Yeah. So all about what problem do you have right this second, right now?
Yeah.
Not 30 seconds from now, not 5 minutes from now, not 5 hours from now. What's right now?
I think that like ties back into Maslow's hierarchy of needs as well, where it's like you don't forget to eat because you're hungry, right? There's an impulse for that, and so if there's something you want to do, you need to find an impulse that's stronger than hunger that you can insert into your life that will drive you to do it. Prime example, like I was busy today, but as soon as there's a booking for a podcast, something else gets pushed off instead, and magically there's time.
Can you just describe what you mean by magically there's time?
So when you're working with clients or a team, for example, there's especially in the freelance and creative spaces, there's a notion or a wisdom that's like a project will always take exactly the amount of time that's allocated to it and exactly the amount of budget that's allocated to it. Here she comes. Hello, it's my supervisor. If you assign 2 weeks to a project, it will take 2 weeks. But if you assign a week to the same project, it will only take a week. But the 2 week guys doing the project will swear blind that they couldn't have done it any faster.
Interesting. So your approach was to always give the amount of time that you needed for the project, or did you always like shave time off of that?
No, it's just the philosophy of it. If you give yourself a set amount of time to achieve something, it's just human nature, right? Most people will leave things till last minute. And so how do you solve that? Well, you change where last minute is. If last
like
minute
that.
is right now, it will get done right now. If last minute is later this afternoon, it will still be there later this afternoon.
Yes. So you're talking about the crisis maker archetype of procrastination, where nothing's urgent unless it's urgent, right? Hey, I didn't name it. I didn't name it. That's
what's your organization style? Crisis and chaos.
Well, I mean, it's not incorrect. I mean, we're on this floating little rock in a billion, I don't know, hectares or light years of empty space, and we don't have any control over it. It's all chaos.
Yeah, it's been my big thing this year to just do stuff. I mean, I got loads done in the past couple of years, but it's like there's some things I notice that are in the back of my head. I'm like, I want to do that one day. I want to do that. Oh yeah, one day I'll do that. And I sort of realized one day's never going to come unless I make it happen, unless I do it, unless I jump in. Like it's still going to be one day. It'll always be this nebulous one day. One day when I magically have time, I'll get to it. And so I've just been like full force into everything this year.
I like that, and it actually reminds me of Laura Berkey. She's a word coach, and we had some interesting conversations around the language that we use for things. And when you say I want to do something, it's almost like you're training yourself, depending on what your perception of want is. It's almost like you're training yourself to not get that thing. But there's a big difference between I'm going to do this one day to I'm doing this today, or I'm going to do this, or just instead of I'm going to run, and feel how that feels in your body. And then she said, I'm going to run. No, I'm running. So if you say I'm running, you're actually preparing your body to actually do the thing to get it going. So it's interesting that you say that.
Funnily enough, running's a really good one. A strategy I used to use. I'm massive into self improvement as well. So there was one I noticed that like at one point in my life, I realized, and I was listening to a lot of audiobooks, but I realized like I wasn't doing what I needed to do. Right, I wasn't taking action on anything, and I was being lazy, and I had all these bad habits, and I was trying to figure out like how to not be a waste of space, essentially. Through that, one of the things I wanted to do was like get into shape, start running, doing that sort of thing. And I tried everything to do it. Like it never worked. So I was like, all right, I will schedule it, right? Wednesday at 4 p.m., I'm going to go and exercise. Well, something came up and the 3:30 thing took too long, and now it's being pushed back, and it's not happening. And I realized that the really powerful way of doing this, the really powerful way of, beating procrastination in that sense, is to make it more difficult to not do it. And also ambushing yourself. I can't remember what book this was from, but this theory's in it like 2 or 3 different books, and there's variations of it. But ambush yourself when your brain is least capable of doing stuff and has the most willpower. You have the most willpower first thing in the morning, and throughout the day, your willpower drains. Right? Every decision you make, every micro decision you make, from getting out of bed to putting your clothes on, drains your willpower. And you've only got so much throughout the day. So if you want to do anything, counterintuitively, the best time to do it is first thing in the morning. Also, first thing in the morning, when your brain is groggy and you're half asleep, it's at its worst for making excuses. All right? You are much more pliable and much more coercible first thing in the morning. All right? And so if you leverage that with the idea of making it harder to avoid something, it's actually almost impossible to fail. And so what you do is, if you want to go for a run, hide everything in your house and put your shoes and your running gear and your keys and your iPod next to your bed where you'll fall over them, because you'll get up and put that on before your brain's had an opportunity to conceive some excuses not to do it. And before you're awake, you're out running going, holy fuck, how did this happen?
I like that, and I think you just stumbled into a big manipulation thing for kids. Ever notice how, whenever you see those movies or when you were a kid, when you wanted to ask your parents something, it was always at, like, the ass crack of dawn, like, you just weren't in there and be like, "I wanna go outside and play," and everyone's like, Yeah, 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 we'll do that, just let me
Yeah.
sleep." So, wow, that's actually, like, a huge thing that anybody who's listening, should probably pick
Yeah.
up on that.
You can train the impulse as well. So I used to be a terrible morning person. Like I used to really struggle to get out of bed my whole life. And at the same time I was doing this, I was also trying to get into the habit of getting out of bed. And this is really, really weird. But one of the things I did was and it worked so well. To this day it works just impeccably. It completely rewired my brain. Is I just trained the impulse for getting out of bed. And this is going to sound really, really weird and really, really cringy, but I swear to God it works. Throughout the day, go and lie down in your bed and set your alarm just for a minute's time. Lie down, relax, alarm goes off, and the moment your alarm goes off, like at 4 p.m., in your clothes, whatever, you just bolt up, right? Alarm goes off, bang, you jump out of bed. You just literally jump and go. And when you go to bed, think about that and have that vision in your mind. When my alarm goes off, I'm going to jump up. When my alarm goes off, I'm going to jump up. I'm going to jump up. I'm going to put my running shoes on, which are right here, right? And then throughout the day, do that once or twice. Go and lie down, set your alarm. Alarm goes off, jump up, put your shoes on. And it will build that impulse. And like 2 or 3 days of doing that and visualizing that, your alarm will go off first thing in the morning and you'll be up with your shoes on before you're awake. You'll be like, oh, crap.
It's interesting. How do you find that that affects you though? Like, doesn't that make you, like, feel stressed out, like, a little bit for the rest of the day or something though? Like,
No, it doesn't do that at all because you think it's like a stress impulse, like a stress driver. It is really not. It's reframe that motor engram in your mind, right? So when your alarm goes off in the morning, your subconscious is like, okay, cool. It's time to go and do stuff. And you just wake up and move forwards.
we often talk about the artists, about the artists and writing or acting, and we often talk. Those are 98% procrastination, and 2% actually doing things. How true is that for you?
I struggle with the so the thing I procrastinate most on is always the start of the creative process. Once we're actually going and I have an idea in my head, I'm good. Like we're off. We can do this. Doesn't matter how tired I am. I can just like belligerently bulldoze through it. But the struggle for me, the bit I get stuck on is that okay, I need to sit down. Anything I need to think about or concentrate on. When I have to sit down and do script writing, it's always script writing that I get stuck on and I'm late with. If there's anything holding up a project, it will always be script writing, which is why I'm trying to hire a writer right now. Yeah, everything else that requires more effort, more time, filming, editing, all of that stuff, I can do that. I'm always on point with that. But as soon as I have to sit down and focus or think about stuff too hard, that's where I'm like, yeah, I'll do that in a minute. I'll just make a cup of tea first.
You bring up an interesting aspect that I wanted to get your opinion on, especially now that we've got AI and we're getting prompted and things, and we're getting these generic ideas back sometimes. Do you think that in an advertising process or a storytelling process that we absolutely positively have to have everything scripted out for
No,
it to be beneficial?
no, not at all. Actually, especially in this day and age, a large part of what we do and a large part of our success comes down to UGC. I don't know if you're familiar with UGC. So UGC stands for user generated content. And the idea is it's more natural and organic and a lot less scripted. And so a lot of my YouTube videos, for example, I do some like good hero videos that are scripted and have really high production value. But some of them are just me sat talking. And those counterintuitively are often the more popular ones. You'll see a lot of this in adverts. A lot of the adverts you'll see on like TikTok, Instagram, that sort of thing look like an influencer is doing something and it's part of their content, but it's not. A lot of the time they're hired actors. And so in order to do that and achieve that sort of look, a lot of the time we're not working to an exact script. A lot of it is improvised and it's organic and it's sort of more in the moment. And that's how we make content that's it's still fabricated, obviously, but it's more natural and more relatable. And a lot of brands are capitalizing on this. You'll find a lot of video agencies right now, actually, that work with bigger brands. Bigger brands are coming out and saying, hey, yeah, put the cameras down. We want you to record on an iPhone. It's a really common complaint with a lot of my videographer friends, but we've got $10,000 cameras to shoot stuff with, and then we have, like, you know, multi-million-pound multinational brands insisting that we shoot it on an iPhone.
I mean, the good news is the new iPhone was gonna have a price tag of, like, some astronomical number anyway, $4,000 or something, so,
Really?
I mean, it's
Wasn't the
getting
last
up
one
there,
like
it's getting up there.
700 quid or something?
But the new one, right? Which I just thought was weird, so, I guess that's it's actually a big conspiracy between Apple and the other cameras. They wanna sell their phones for $10,000.
Yeah, don't get me into that, because I'll be sat here all day talking about tech specs of cameras and sensor sizes and pixel peeping, and yes, your audience doesn't want to hear that, I'm sure.
Well, it depends. Sure, some of that is a welcome distraction for different things too. Uh, Anything's a distraction, right? Any port in the storm, so to speak. I find it interesting you brought up this where we want this UGC, which we want things that are more authentic looking and more real. But it's a really weird sort of dichotomy we have going on then, because if you go on Instagram or OnlyFans, upwards of now it's 7.5%, which is a pretty big number when you think about it, of these influencers are now just completely fake. They're just completely AI generated people. Do you think that that matters and that's going to make an impact over time on different marketing strategies, or is it
Yeah.
going to be the same as watching a real person doing the
The
same
big
thing?
question for that is, so yeah, I mean, largely the impact of that's going to come down to the viewer, right? Because that's the driver of everything. The businesses that are producing these, the businesses that are producing content, influencers that are producing content, organic content creators, they're all at the mercy of the viewer. So the viewer is going to be the arbiter, if you like, of how this influences the industry or the marketplace. Now, again, I think it's going to be exactly the same as what happened with voiceover. Like, it's a pyramid. The AI content that's going to come in is always going to be the bottom end. It's always going to be the low quality content. And so a lot of the volume content, a lot of the content farms will probably start relying on AI. But the good content's always going to be people, because even the bestest AI, especially in video, still isn't close to human. Like, it might pass for a 10-second, you might be, was that AI or not? But if it's actually meaningful content, you're going to always favor the real human being. And so the top 75% of the industry, I think, will be completely unaffected. There'll be a little bit where the people that are currently at the bottom, the newer guys, will be forced up. They'll be pushed up a little bit. They'll be pushed up a rung on the ladder. And that will have a little bit of a knock on effect where everyone sort of like pushes up a little bit. But overall, that's just a ripple. And it's only going to make a very small difference to the bottom end of the market. And like I say to all of my guys, like, if you're in the bottom of the end of the market and you think that's a problem, you have bigger problems. If you're a creative and your only marketing campaign or your only marketable point is bargain basement prices, and you're competing with AI, like, you have much bigger problems in your business you need to solve first. If you've positioned yourself correctly, it shouldn't be a problem for you at all.
Oh, that's always the question too, right? Is that, the barrier for entry is so low that even that is causing some people to not put anything out there, because I'll give you an example in the self-publishing space, right? 10,000 books a day on Amazon. Come on, seriously. And a lot of those books are just AI written completely. So now we've got people that are
Yeah, they used to be written by the cheapest Nigerian you could find on Fiverr, and now they're written by AI. Yeah.
yeah, so it's almost like, we've got it's like you said before in the green room before we had, the rules of the game, but it's almost like, how do you go out and do that when you know that there's going to be 1,000 other cars, and like, who's going to actually read your content? Because
Cool, I
that's
love that.
another thing,
The
right?
rules of the game haven't changed. The competitors have changed slightly, and the playing field has changed slightly. If you published a book 50 years ago, it was going to flop unless you marketed it properly. The same is true now. The only difference is, because the barrier of entry is lower, the people that are trying to scalp the low end of the market are able to produce 100 books instead of one book. And so that's their plan, is if every book sells 2 copies, well, they'll just make 10,000. And that's why there's so many books going out there. But you're never going to make good money doing that. And it's the same thing, right? If you want to be a successful author. Robert Kiyosaki, I think it was, said this perfectly. spoke about a conversation he had with a really talented writer and author that he had in a lobby before interview that he went on about his book. And she was like, I don't understand, like, no offense, your writing's good, but I feel like mine's better and I've been working on it and I'm a really talented writer. And Rob's like, yeah, you're a much better writer than I am. Any day of the week, you are a much, much better writer than I am. And she's like, I don't get it. Why are you on the show being interviewed and not me? And he's like, it says it right there on my book. And she's like, yeah, it says best-selling author. Why you? He's like, that's exactly why. It's not the best writing, best written author, best selling author. I'm better at selling than you are. That's why I'm the best selling author. And it's the same thing. Doesn't matter if there's 10,000 books a day being published. It's what eyeballs can you get on them. It's all about value ultimately, right? How can you make your book valuable? Because at the end of the day, someone's giving you their time to read your book, and they're only going to read your book if they think it's worth their time. And that comes from the marketing, the personal branding, that sort of thing. And if you build those skills, you can do anything you want with them, whether that be making books, making content, or anything else. The same people that would be successful 50 years ago will be the same people that will be successful now. It's just when you look at the numbers, there's 10,000 books a day being published.
That's actually a really good way to think about it. Competition is changed. So I take it you don't buy into dead internet theory then?
I do and I don't. I think it's healing. I do think that I think there's going to be changes. I think we're at a low point in the internet and I think it's about to adjust and recover. Obviously, everyone with a website, also me, guilty of this as well, goes and makes SEO generated blog posts for SEO content. And that's just because Google hasn't updated in the past 10 years. There hasn't been a meaningful update to search engine optimization. I know there's a bunch of SEO guys screaming in the comments now. I know, I'm sorry, I'm not insulting your industry, but fundamentally, search engines haven't changed a lot in the past. It's still about content. They've just sort of tweaked and refined it, right? And so, yeah, I think there's going to be a big change in the way that content is curated. I'm not sure what that's going to look like, but there's going to be a big way in the way content's curated because, yeah, AI is making content way too easy to produce. So to a certain extent, yeah, I think 90% of the internet probably is AI generated right now. But ultimately, at some point, there's going to be something that's a better experience for the viewers or the listeners. And as I said, they're going to be the arbiters of everything because they're the end user and they're going to find a better way or they're going to find better content. And then the rush is going to be to push that content, make that content. And that's where the pivot's going to be.
Let me ask you what your stance is on social media then, because I ask a lot of people and I find it really interesting, and I don't know if it's because they're intimidated because I'm a procrastination coach. So a lot of people are really quick to say, "Oh, I'm on social media just because I do post for my business and I'm not on there anymore. I don't consume any content on there." And if 9 out of 10 business owners are telling me this, and 9 out of 10 people are telling me this, "Oh, I don't go on social media anymore to consume. I just go to post or whatever." So who's actually looking at all this content we're spending time to?
Well, I have two things. One, I have a really hot take on that, but I'll come back to that in a minute. Two, you're kind of dealing with survivorship bias there or confirmation bias because the people you speak to are all of a certain mindset and a certain position and probably of a certain temperament. They're all business owners. They're all people that are mindful of things like procrastination. And so, yeah, I expect 90% of your audience doesn't do that, but like that's a very small portion of the total addressable market. They're, lack of a better word, not normal. Most people, there's millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of users that still use social media every day. And yes, I use social media. I use TikTok. I like brain rot. And I use it as an escape. I'm on the go all day, every day. I've got a business to run. It's a creative business. I'm in front of camera a lot of times, performing, doing different things. And when I'm doing things like, okay, number one, I'm performing. Number two, I'm reading a script. Number two, I'm also thinking about the free emails that have just come in. I'm trying to deal with my production manager, making sure that everything's gone off to the editing team. I think the battery in that light's about to die, or did I replace it? No. Okay, camera settings. Yep, that's fine. Is this the right script for that client? Am I wearing the right outfit? Yes, I am wearing the right outfit. Okay, cool. Right now I have to, while all this is going on, also perform. And so, yeah, a couple of times a day, I'm like, right, I'm going to have 10, 20 minutes on TikTok and I'm going to sit in the corner and doom scroll because my brain needs some time to just be off.
Okay. So you do that, and how do you manage? But like you said before, you say I'm going to be 2 minutes, and then all of a sudden, an hour's gone by. So how do you keep yourself off there? Because these platforms are designed to keep you there for as long as possible.
Yeah,
So,
if you start looking,
how do you peel out?
it's literally a case of routine. I normally, so I'm really bad at like multitasking and doing a half-assing a bunch of stuff at once. It's just sort of hand-wired. And so there's always a break mid-morning where I'll stop for breakfast. And when I stop for breakfast, I'll put on an episode of something on TV. Now, my millennial TikTok brain rot brain can't sit and focus on TV anymore. And so this is normally when I'll start playing stupid games on my phone, like stupid games that I wouldn't normally enjoy. And yeah, I just throw on an episode, whatever, while I'm eating breakfast. And then when that's finished, I go back to work. But in that little space of time, that 20 minutes after I finished eating, there's 10, 15 minutes left. It's like, you know what? That 10, 15 minutes is mine. I'm going to do whatever the hell I please with it. And if that's playing whatever terrible abomination of a game I happen to have on my phone at the minute is, then that's what it's going to be. And I'm not going to apologize for it. My time.
No, I like that. I like that. And it's interesting because there is so much judgment around that. I'm actually still doing a lot of research into this as well, between what we call mindless breaks and then mindful breaks, and seeing if there's an actual difference based on the person. Because like you said, I mean, I'm right there with you. I got some really weird crap on my phone. I think it was one. It was like the claw zombie killer or something. It's a claw machine, and
Yeah, it's cool.
you don't do anything. You pick up. It's like a claw machine, and then the weapons go down, and it shoots little zombies or whatever.
Yeah.
It's totally stupid.
I
But
I don't want to think about anything. I just want to go, me. Just like 10 minutes of off time. That's what I want. Like, you know.
yeah, but I'm curious. Um, have you ever tried to replace that with something that's mindful? Like something that's like origami or something that you actually have to focus on. It's not that you're on, it's just that you are focused on something in the task. And is that different to just mindlessly hitting a button?
Yeah, no, it's funny you mentioned that. I haven't tried origami. I'm a black belt in origami. Oh, no, sorry, it's an old only fools and horses joke. Yeah, so there's a couple of things I've tried to combat that. I tried changing my social media to only be productive stuff, so that it's only like not work related stuff, but so like personal development stuff or like camera reviews or like, you know, stuff that's pertinent to what I do. So that like that time is being used constructively, even if I'm using social media for entertainment. It's like, okay, cool, I'm still learning stuff or, you know, whatever. I also tried making sure that the dead time I used instead I'd listen to audiobooks or I'd you know, read books or whatever. And the other thing is I have guitars in every room right next to me so that if any time I need a 5 minute little break, I can just grab one and have a little fiddle. And then that way I'm improving that way. But then I ultimately realized maybe this is the reason I'm burning out all the time. Maybe I do need some breaks. Maybe, you know, 10, 20 minutes of procrastination a couple of times a day. Maybe that's good for me. Because otherwise, it's just a case of you're literally on the go all the time. Like, go, 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 go.
And that is another thing that I like to mention to people too, is that procrastination can actually be strategic, right? You know, one thing is procrastination is well, there are two different ways to look at it. Actually, it was interesting. The first one was the guy who was very straightforward. He says, I like the way he said it. He's like, I'm doing the wrong thing. I'm not doing it the right way. Or I'm doing it the wrong, and which was interesting because it was a very sort of black and white way to look at it, right? And then you have others that come on and they say, well, no, procrastination is assigned to self care. So burnout, overwhelm, and stress are all mostly linked to self care. So is self-care procrastinating? Well, that changes to the point of the observer, right? Because if I say, "Hey, Andy, I want you to make this voiceover today, right now," and you're like, "No, no, no, I'm gonna go through TikTok. Trust me," and you do it in the afternoon. To me, you're procrastinating. You get it done now, but to you, no, you're getting it done when you want to get it
Yeah,
done.
it's crazy how that works. But again, I think there's different levels to this, right? You need to build a relationship with yourself and to understand that there is a certain amount of self care. But you also need to have the wherewithal, the self reflection, the introspection to be able to tell, am I making excuses for something that's otherwise detrimental? Like asking an alcoholic if they have a problem. Because some people will be using that to make an excuse and not have the self-awareness at that time to realize that, oh, okay, this is a problem, I'm doing this too much. And it's I think it's going to be a very individual thing, because in some cases it's valid, and in some cases you're probably enabling a bad habit. But again, everyone should have bad habits, just in moderation.
Well, we start to get into trouble when we start labeling things good, bad, and different, and even the definition of addiction is, it's a detrimental
But
activity that cannot be gone without, that is
yeah,
impacting your life in a negative
but
way.
when I say detrimental, that's dependent upon the value structure you set for yourself in your life. What is detrimental to me won't be detrimental to you, because we have different values, different goals, different aspirations, right? For me, I can't sit still. I've got to build the next thing, do the next thing, do the other thing. There's lots of people that are very content in a 9 to 5, very happy, very content. Good for them. I cannot understand that. But that's different value structure. To them, that's good. That's fantastic. Um, to them, what I do is insane. And it's fine. We're all humans. We're all different. We all have our own values and our own value structures and our own priorities, goals, and aspirations. It's just a case you've got to really understand yourself, whether to you in your position is that relevant.
No, I mean, you're very correct in that. Knowing, what was it? So many sayings, so many variations. Know thyself, or to thy own self be true. But most of the time, we're running around and we're feeling burned out and overwhelmed and stressed. Is because we're going against one of those core values. That's why they call them soul sucking jobs, because you're literally doing something that is going against one of your core values.
Yeah, it's a really easy routine to fall into as well. And I remember being asked this and being completely stuck. And if you ask me now, I'd know exactly what the answer is. But a lot of people haven't thought about it. If they've been in a routine for so long, um, if you wake up tomorrow, you don't have to go to work ever again. What are you going to do?
Be a human being.
Yeah.
Where
Well, again, that's going to be different for everyone, right? Very personal. 'Cause to me, there's going to be a different answer to you. But if you wake up tomorrow, you don't have any obligations, you don't have any job, what are you going to do? What do you want to do?
You know what's amazing? The first thing that immediately popped into my mind, and I imagine it's probably the same for everyone else. You don't have a job tomorrow morning. You wake up. What are you gonna do? Look for another job. Hey, stupid.
Hierarchy of needs. I've got no job. I've got no food. I need food. I need food. I need shelter. I need heat. Right? It's the stress cycle. There's a large problem with like a lot of corporate jobs now, is they use that stress cycle against you. Can't lose your job. You'll starve. You'll probably be all right. Probably.
Yeah, it's amazing though, because again, a lot of it is all societal too, and that's another reason where we procrastinate or we don't do some things because they don't align with us, right? And again, for everybody that's different. But a lot of times, we're told that we want these things or this status to be happy. We get there and we figure out, oh, it's not what I wanted. And I have a very real example. I learned this when I was 8 years old. And I completely missed the lesson, by the way. But reflecting back on it, that was the lesson. It was, there was one summer, I think I was about 7 or 8 years old, and dating myself here because it was a Beetlejuice car. And it was a really fun little thing. You put the action figure in, he even shrunk and had the head. It was all. So I remember seeing the advertisements for that. I remember seeing it in the catalogs and really, 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 really wanting that car. Well, I actually got it. I played with it for about 5 minutes and said, That's it? That sucks. No, I'm not happy with this. Well, why the hell did I even want this thing?" You know? But at 8 years old, I had that sort of lesson and completely went over my head, by the way, again. But, advertising is so good that we get stuff we don't want, and we feel unfulfilled, so now we're buying the next thing that's supposed to make us happy.
As a society, we've got very good at telling and instructing people what will make them happy.
I'm curious, have you ever met anybody who's ever been 100% happy because they've done 100% of the things they've been told to do?
I mean, it's probably happened. Like, there's enough people in the world that, someone has been put into the right place, into the right system, and they have been perfectly happy and content.
Do you think that we'd be, and again, this might be a little bit of a controversial question for you, but, if advertising just went away, like 100%, do you think that that would kind of halt our current sort of world market? Advertising helps sell things at a great distance, but I mean, if we went back to more local economies.
No, if we, well, there's different questions to this. It's like, if we, like, let's say, let's remove globalization and just say, like, each country's own economy. Otherwise, there's just too many variables. And it's like, okay, you have a country and you don't get goods from outside the country, for example. Everything happens inside the economy in this country. You ban advertising, what happens? Well, I think a lot of people would think that overall society would get better. And I think there might be a degree to that. There'll be less consumerism, there'll be less debt, there'll be less people falling into those traps. And there'd probably be slightly less of a focus on status, at least in the world of material goods. There'd probably be maybe a few less health challenges because people will stop eating crap. I think there might be a degree to that. But I honestly think all innovation will stop. I think growth of the country outside of the idea of consumerism would stop, would cease almost overnight. Because the core concept and cornerstone of advertising is problem solving and improvement. We're using Riverside to record this. You're aware that that problem exists because of the advertising. You're aware of this solution because of another piece of advertising. You're watching this podcast, listening to this podcast because of advertising. You're aware of the benefits of listening to podcasts because of advertising. In businesses, every business system you have, every efficiency you have, everything that makes a business run is because of advertising. Yeah, advertising gets a bad rep. It does a lot of really evil stuff. It does way more good stuff. So yeah, I think things would change. I think some bad things would go away. I think a lot more good things will go away.
I like that. I like that. Andy, this has been a really great conversation. However, we are coming up pretty close to the time. Is there anything that you wish I would have asked but didn't ask, or anything you feel we should have covered but we didn't cover today?
What do you do? But what's your go-to like procrastination tip or like anti-procrastination tip?
Well, that there's literally, there's five main archetypes of procrastination that you can fall into, right? But there's just so many rabbit holes you can go down. The only way that I've found that's been really effective is, again, like what you said, know yourself. When your why is high, your cost is low. And I'll give you a real example from my own life to show you how it can be impacted and how you can, go around it. The first thing you need to understand is that you are not procrastinating the entire thing. It's always one part of the thing, right?
Yeah, the jump-in point.
Right. So what you have to do is you have to chunk it down until you can find that point. And I have a very real example. So I'm not a gym guy, but I have some weights in the garage and I have a treadmill and an exercise bike and I go out 5:30 in the morning, wake up and go out and do some routines. Well, I live in Canada, summer comes along, and I use the excuse of my daughter being at a school and the weather being nice to not do that. It's like, weather's nice. I'm in Canada. I only get that 2 months a year. And I'll get back to it when she goes back to school. And anyway, so that was fine. Had a great summer. September rolls around. I get back up into the routine. 5:30, wake up, do the exercise, no problem. About the end of October, beginning of November, I start to drag my feet. I don't really want to get out of bed. There's some days that, I get up, but maybe I don't go to the garage, or some days I don't get up. I don't even want to get up. So I said, okay, what's going on? So I break it down, so get up at 5:30, right? I don't have a problem with that. So nope, that's good. Doing the exercise, well, I don't have a problem with that. Been doing that. Going out to the garage. Oh, wait a second. It's colder outside. Therefore, it's now colder in the garage. I do not like being cold. Therefore, I am not doing this. So I just added a single step to, when I get up out of bed to turn on a little space, well, it's a pretty big space heater, but turn one of those on. And lo and behold, the procrastination went away. I was up at 5:30 and I was able to go out and do other things. But the point is that when you resolve that procrastination in that one instance, and again, a lot of people tend to beat themselves up when they realize these things because they're really, really obvious when you actually notice them. And it's that I don't like being cold, so that should be pretty obvious, right?
Removing resistance, friction.
Right. But once I realized that it was stopping me from doing that, I looked at my life and I looked at the other ways it was stopping me. Like, I didn't want to go on winter light walks. I didn't want to go build a snowman. I didn't want to do these other things. And so to avoid procrastination on those things, if as long as I was properly prepared for them, good set of gloves, warm clothes, and I knew, or I could talk myself into knowing that I'm not going to be that cold, then I wouldn't do that. So
Do you
when
know
you
how
actually,
many similarities there are with this and consumer psychology and marketing?
oh yeah, I bet a lot.
It's like one to one almost. You could just be talking about a sales funnel right now, and friction and things that are happening in a consumer's mind as you're trying to move them towards a sale.
Well, I mean, we all, we tend to think that business and marketing and everything is foreign concept, but all we did was we implanted our structures that we created when we were naked and afraid running through the woods, and we imposed them onto another system.
Yeah, again, comes back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
This has certainly been great, Andy. Any other closing remarks or anything else you want to get out there?
No, I don't think so. You're welcome to check out my YouTube channel if you want. I'm sure there'll be a link to it somewhere.
No, for sure. And so, just before we go, what's the best way for our users to reach out to you?
You can find me on YouTube, Kraken Media, my website, which is kraken.media, and there's links there to everything, or find me on LinkedIn or any other social channel, really.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Andy. And again, to all our listeners, don't worry about grabbing a paper and pen. We are going to have that in the show notes for you, so it's easy to find. And once again, Andy, thank you so much for being on the show. It's been a blast. And to all our listeners, thank you once again for tuning in. And just remember, if you can't find that motivation or inspiration for yourself today, maybe just go out and try to be that motivation and inspiration for someone else. And we'll see you again next time.
All right, see you later.